Increase our faith. Those words spoken by the apostles in tonight's gospel could be on each of our lips tonight. We too cry out, increase our faith. Deepen our faith. Faith begins as something in us, as tiny as a mustard seed. But it is in us. This mustard seed of faith is in everybody without exception. It is something in us that does not depend on our education or our mental health or our abilities or our talents or our physical health or even our virtue or anything about us. It begins as tiny and as nondescript as a mustard seed. And so it gets largely ignored, except that we experience again and again inside of us as a tug, perhaps a longing, maybe an invitation. This past Monday, the CSC brought in an internationally known writer and speaker to reflect on faith and on our reasons for our faith, especially from the perspective of physics. 260 came that night. Probably the biggest crowd we've ever had for a lecture here at the CSC. 260 of us. One woman said to me as she was coming up the steps, walking in, "I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I believe about anything, any of this. I don't know if I believe anything." But something made her want to come. Something made all those 260 of us want to come. And maybe that something has a capital S. Something. Searching for reasons for why we already believe, or for any reason to believe anything at all. Father Spitzer that night gave many reasons that I would say, quite frankly to you, make it harder to not believe than to believe in God. Most all of his examples and stories and teaching was from the field of physics. I was very interested that night to hear that science confirms that we now know that everything really came from nothing. And nothing can only make nothing. So something had to make everything. And alongside of that, he talked about this tiniest, most minuscule of extremely unlikely possibilities that we could even be here at all. That this was so likely to have to be more than chance. But earlier that day, not being a scientist myself, earlier that day, I had a chance to talk to him several different times and ask him some of my own personal questions about faith and how I might deepen my own faith and hopefully help you with yours. Yes, it is true. Priests are not automatic believers. We are not automatic believers just because we're ordained a priest. Priests can lose their faith too. Faith for me, as it is for each of us, is a choice. It's a choice. And it could be lost or gained anywhere along the way. Therefore, being a believer should come with the utmost humility, because it is a gift. It's a gift that I believe it all, and in the end, there is no definitive proof, no irrefutable proof in all the world for this. There's only just a choice, and if there was an irrefutable proof, then we wouldn't have a choice and we wouldn't be free. Having faith should never, ever make me self-righteous or ever allow me to look down on those who don't have faith. Ever, ever. If all the clues from physics and from my human nature, our human nature, holds together, we just might want to accede to it. I want faith to be reasonable. I want it to be rational. And it is. Because clues are planted everywhere in the world of nature and of the human person. The clues are planted everywhere. Yet still, there's no irrefutable proof. Because in the end, we do have to choose. We have to take that little leap. And given all the clues, this is a little leap, not big. If I'm paying attention to all the evidence inside me and around me, it might not be as difficult to believe as we make it, to believe in God. So what are some of these clues for the existence of God? Not tonight from the world of physics, but tonight from the world of our human experience. One of those first clues is that it doesn't matter the traditions we come from or the cultures that people come from, or whether it was 5,000 years ago or yesterday. Every single person who ever lived and lives has a sense of the sacred. A sense of the sacred. The sense of something beyond us that is calling us to a sense of home. And we all have that, don't we? That sense of home, different from where we are right now. We know that as much as we might prefer it otherwise some days, we are not at home. We're not at home. But there is a home. We are not there, and we're called to go there, to go home. And we somehow know that this home is beautiful, like maybe a garden. And it's something I am in relationship with all the time. We are not inventing this in our minds, because this happens across all cultures and all generations. So it begs the question, my friends, where in the world do we get this longing for home? Another clue. We have this sense of fascination. A fascination that comes out especially towards sacred symbols. When we encounter them, even as little kids, you see a little kid stop in front of a statue of one of the saints, or Mary, or Jesus. You see him stop in front of a stained glass window, and it still happens for us. We get the sense of the beautiful, the fulfilling, and the awesome. Something in us, in ourselves, resonates with that image. Something deep, deep down inside resonates there. I don't know why this is true, but it's true. And that fascination is manifest in the numinous. The numinous. That sense that there is something other than me, wholly other, that is beneficent, and that this ultimate home is other than I. It is within me, and it is other than me. It does not dominate me, but it only invites. It always and forever invites me into itself. When it comes to faith, there are no ultimatums, not even the ultimatum of hell. There is only invitation. And then there is the sense of conscience. Conscience. That even little kids have this thing called conscience that's horrified by evil, and attracted to the good. That comes to us as a voice outside of us that we can almost hear, that tells us right and wrong. We know this is more than nurture. We have all felt the pain of conscience. And lastly, perhaps one last clue, is that there are these archetypal myths, like in the Tolkien stories, like in The Lord of the Rings, where there's this dark lord and this hero and this struggle, this mighty struggle between good and evil that marks those stories. This is part of the unconscious mind of every woman, man, and child on this planet, anywhere. And that too is something else. Something else, indeed. The combination of all these clues, this sense of the sacred, this fascination, especially with religious symbols, this experience of the numinous, the experience, the call home, the conscience, and these archetypal myths, all these clues in the human psyche and in all nature around us provide lots of evidence for the existence of God. And the combination of all those together is a boom. My friends, there are more reasons to believe in God than not to believe in God. And if it all holds together, you just might want to accede to it, to let your hearts and your will be turned towards it and respond to this ever so gentle invitation toward the stab of love. The faith I, Gary Braun, cry out for is to not miss those moments, those clues that happen to each of us all the time, and to pay attention to that in us that is part of each of our lives without exception. Therefore, I cry out, increase my faith. And every Sunday, I gather here and join my voice with yours, and I sing, glory, glory, glory to God in the highest.